It's 1938, and deep in the heart of the African jungle, two of the most extraordinary vehicles ever built are making their way through the dense wilderness. Known as the Jungle Yachts, these colossal coaches redefined the very concept of luxury on wheels. Inside, they boasted not only hot and cold air conditioning, but a fully equipped kitchen, a luxurious tiled bathroom, twin bedrooms, a comfortable living space, library and study, and even a fully stocked bar. But just who created these remarkable machines, and why, and how, in the midst of the Second World War, did they end up going from luxury exploration barge to a mobile jungle hospital? Well, this is the story of Attilio Gatti's African Jungle Yachts. Now, before we get back to the Jungle Yacht, a quick thank you to today's sponsor, Odoo. Odoo will revolutionise the way that you run your business. It's a suite of apps designed to streamline everything from accounting and invoicing to point of sale and work planning, but what does that actually mean? See, Odoo centralises and manages all of your operations on one single platform with a whole bunch of interconnected applications that work seamlessly together. So for example, do you need a project management app so that you can keep track of something that you're working on? For example, a very complicated video all about the history of a jungle yacht. Well, sorted. In fact, there's actually even a video making template right there ready to go. Perhaps you need something a little bit more complex though. Let's say you run a coffee shop on a small Scottish island. Well, funnily enough, just like I do here on the Isle of Rassay, but I don't want to manually spend hours counting all my stock of art prints and coffee cups. Well, Odoo's inventory management app lets you monitor stock levels in real time and even set up automatic restocking. Then, of course, there's Odoo's amazing website builder, which is as powerful as it is customizable. You can drag and drop images, set up a shop or portfolio website in minutes, and get previews for desktop or mobile. There are simply so many apps to choose from, and I use Odoo for basically everything, and I think you'll get a lot of use out of it too. So try Odoo for yourself today. You can sign up to a very affordable plan and get access to all the apps, but the first app is free for life with unlimited hosting and support. So thanks again, Odoo, but let's get back to the jungle yachts of the Belgian Congo. Attilio Gatti was born in Voghera, Italy in 1896. His early life and career are somewhat elusive, but by the 1930s he had begun to make a name for himself for his adventures and expeditions on the African continent. A prolific writer and publicist, Gatti was a media-savvy storyteller and rode a wave of interest in the mysteries of the African continent that had gripped audiences in Europe and North America since the late 1800s. However, unlike the popular depiction of a prototypical African big game hunter, Gatti's work was increasingly focused on a growing interest in photography and filmmaking to document Africa's unique landscapes, animals and cultures. So here's something interesting, a copy of Picture Post. Now if you haven't heard of Picture Post, it was a little bit like Britain's equivalent of Time or Life magazine. I've pulled this out of the Callum archives. This particular one comes from April 13th, 1946. And I actually bought this because I became fascinated by this island called Ruad, which is off the coast of Syria. It's one of Syria's few islands, I believe, and it has this fascinating history of shipbuilding. But anyway, the interesting thing is, just over the page, this is an article all about Gatti's expeditions in Africa, or Commander Gatti as he was known. And I think this article also helps illustrate both kind of Gatti's approach to photography and documenting stuff and this move away from the big game hunter, because it actually says here, stalking with a camera instead of a gun, Commander Gatti brings back a striking collection of animal photographs from his expeditions in equatorial Africa. And if you look down at the bottom, in this photograph here, it says, "The jungle yacht of a modern explorer. A trailer used by the Gatti expedition is loaded onto a barge. The trailers were air-conditioned and provided with many comforts." And you can't really make it out, but you can make out the odd shape. This is clearly the back of the bus. See, Gatti had long used his skills in publicity and promotion to garner support and finance and gather patrons for his African adventures. And in around 1938, for his planned 10th African expedition, he managed to land a sponsorship integration that would make even a modern day YouTuber like me swoon. And that was from an American manufacturing powerhouse at the forefront of machinery and overland transport, a company called International Harvester. As Harvester themselves would promote in their 1938 company magazine, they provided the expedition with a range of trucks and trailers, but the prize amongst them would be the Jungle Yachts, described by the company as two of the most elaborate conveyances ever put on wheels. Responsible for the luxurious design was Count Alexei Deshakanovsky, a Russian-American designer famed for his lavish, futuristic, streamlined designs. This 1938 edition of the Esquire magazine features some of the beautiful early sketches of Shakanovsky's design. These luxurious caravans are constructed of stainless steel. They're air-conditioned and ultra-insulated against heat, humidity, insects, and even the pollen of tropical flowers, often the cause of deadly fevers. The kitchen is so compactly designed that Mrs. Gatti, sitting on the stool in the centre of the room, can reach the refrigerator, the sink, the stove, the oven, the door to the insulated receptacle, the table and lockers and drawers which the yellow linoleum conceals. The illustration below shows the dining room observation car, where the Gattis will travel during the day in comfortable armchairs, dine and entertain friends for cocktails and dinner. The trailers themselves wouldn't be built by International Harvester, but rather the Fleetwheels Coats Corporation of Bristol, Pennsylvania, and costing some $15,000 apiece. Manufactured from stainless steel and welded as opposed to the more typical riveted construction of the day, each trailer would be towed by an International DS-30 tractor, equipped with a 6-cylinder petrol engine and capable of producing some 84 horsepower. The tractor units were also styled in a streamlined fashion to match the trailer, and combined, each tractor and trailer unit weighed in at a staggering 9 tons. Powered by a 1,500 watt generator per trailer, each featured full electrical lighting and cutting-edge radio sets, a technology Gatti was keen to pioneer on his adventures, and communication between the two trailers could be achieved by telephone. One trailer contained the sitting room, along with a lavatory, dining table, bar and kitchen. The other trailer contained 2 single bedrooms for Gatti and his wife, along with an opulent tiled bathroom. As Esquire noted on the layout, the 2 gadgets on the side of the tub are a thermometer showing the temperature of the bathwater and a control for the radio set. Count Deshakanovsky can't bear to think of anybody taking a bath without music. The sheer scale of technology and opulence on display created a significant amount of buzz around Gatti's expedition. Before leaving for Africa, the vehicles took part in a large exhibition in Manhattan to crowds of amazed onlookers and dignitaries. As an advert at the time read, "Commander Attilio Gatti and International Harvester cordially invite you to inspect the Jungle Yachts, the streamlined international tow trucks, and other features of this most elaborate of expeditions." Following the glitzy exhibition, they were then packed onto the freighter West Lashaway and shipped across the Atlantic to the Belgian Congo, where the expedition was set to begin. The vast territory of the Belgian Congo, once brutally ruled by Belgium's king, King Leopold II, as the Congo Free State, had been annexed by the Belgian government in 1908, following international condemnation at the untold horrors and abuses inflicted on the native population over decades of rule by the king's regime. By the 1930s, the Belgian government, despite continuing to rule and exploit the territory, was now eager to rehabilitate the Congo's image as a model colony, to attract more investment and tourism to the region. Gatti's unique brand of popular science and attention-grabbing expeditions made him the perfect propaganda tool for such efforts, and the Belgian government had quickly lent its own support to the planned 18-month expedition. Setting out from the coastal port of Matadi, the convoy of vehicles slowly moved inland from more developed roads to dirt tracks, with the fleet of vehicles performing well on the dusty, rutted African roads. International Harvester, keen to capitalise on their investment, had sent a large film crew to document the journey and were soon promoting their film about the ongoing expedition in a movie called Jungle Yachts of the Belgian Congo.
This time it is a completely motorized safari, including 2 of the most amazingly modernized luxury trailers ever built in any country. The Jungle Yachts, powered by International Harvester. The last word in civilized comfort and convenience. Completely electrified, with every conceivable needed scientific and household appliance. air-conditioned for both heat and cold. Here is the elegant bathroom. Truly, these are trailers of tomorrow.
In the film, the large towed trailers are shown unloading from barges, travelling through the African outback and setting up a luxurious camp. Along with the yachts and tow tractors, International Harvester had also provided a DS-30 supply truck, a D-15 which was used by the film crew, and a D-2 station wagon. However, as the expedition ventured deeper into the African interior, storm clouds were gathering over Europe. By September 1939, the growing tensions had erupted into the beginnings of the Second World War, and the expedition's days were numbered. What had started as a planned 18-month mission was about to come to an abrupt end. In November 1939, an article in the Brooklyn Eagle reported that Gatti and his wife were now back in America. The film, Jungle Yachts of the Belgian Congo, was soon to be released, but Gatti had been forced to cut short the expedition by several months due to the increasing hostilities and what Gatti claimed to be poor communications. As the paper reported, Gatti drove his trailers to Matadi, the port in the Belgian Congo, and waited for the West Lashaway to take them back to the United States. But the freighter didn't have space down below, and the increased $2,500 included stowing them on deck with no provision being made for claims for possible damage. Finally, the explorer decided to leave the trailers behind at Matadi until other arrangements for the return could be made. However, it seems that Gatti's quick return to the United States, as reported by the Brooklyn Eagle, may not have been entirely voluntary. In July 1944, an article in the British Newport Daily Express shed light on what sounded like a much less than friendly end to the expedition. Commander Gatti's last expedition to the Belgian Congo was halted by the present war. The Belgian government simply grabbed $75,000 worth of his equipment and sent him home. He has hopes of getting the money back someday, but he's not too optimistic. Gatti's lack of optimism would prove correct. Back in the Congo, his unique collection of vehicles had quickly been adapted for the war effort. In 1941, several newspapers reported on Gatti's vehicles being repurposed, with some mistakenly claiming that the vehicles were Italian and presenting Gatti's expedition in a far more self-indulgent light. Luxury land yachts confiscated from Commander Attilio Gatti, the Italian explorer and publicist, form part of a mobile casualty clearing station equipped, financed and staffed by the government and people of the Belgian Congo and presented by them to Britain as an expression of their firm determination to assist in the war against Germany and Italy. The land yachts are far more suitable for hospital purposes than for a hardy explorer. These six-wheelers include bathrooms, refrigerators and kitchens. They carry dental surgeries, operating theatres and x-ray equipment. The complete station consists of 22 vehicles staffed by 5 surgeons and 6 other Europeans and 82 natives of the Belgian Congo. So I guess the question then naturally follows, what happened to the Jungle Yachts after they were confiscated and transformed and presented to the British as this mobile casualty station? Well, the trail sort of runs dry. After 1942, and those news stories about them being presented to the British come up, there are almost no references anywhere to the Jungle Yachts. It's interesting, actually. I tried to have a look through as many of Attilio Gatti's books as possible. In the end, I managed to order this book. The only reference that I can find is way at the back here, but there's not actually any direct mentions to these trailers or how they fared. It just says, we saw it ourselves when, for our last African expedition, we built some giant trailers. Their overall length was 42 feet. The weight of each unit, including equipment, topped 10 tons. I do sometimes wonder whether this was maybe a little bit of a sore subject for Attilio. The fact that the expedition, which obviously had probably taken months, years to organise, and all the money that had gone into it, was cancelled early. His equipment and his trailers were confiscated. In one of the newspapers, he talked about how they only just managed to get out with the photographs and the videos that would become that film, Jungle Yachts in the Belgian Congo. But there is one small tantalising reference that maybe gives us a small clue as to what happened to the Jungle Yachts after they were confiscated and turned into this mobile clearing station. And it actually comes from this edition of Picture Post. And I'll be honest, if I just read this a little bit more carefully at the very beginning of my research, I might have found this out a little bit earlier. Down here at the bottom, it says, unfortunately, a hitch arose. While Gatti was in the depths of the jungle, Mussolini brought Italy into the war, and the commander is an Italian. When he emerged, his land yachts were confiscated by the government of the Belgian Congo and presented to Britain. With very little alteration, they were transformed into a mobile casualty clearing station and took part in the East African campaign. Now, the chances are pretty slim, but there is probably a book out there somewhere. There's probably a document sitting in an archive somewhere that lists equipment, and maybe somewhere in those lists of equipment would be a reference to an American-made mobile casualty clearing station with 2 trailers, and maybe one day someone will uncover that archive and we can find out what happened to them. Probably they were used for a while, they were broke down, lack of parts meant that they ended up getting scrapped. But it's quite amazing to think that they may have actually played a relatively significant part in a campaign or a theatre or battles in and around the East African campaign of the Second World War. But that is the story of the explorer who, according to Popular Mechanics here, rode the stainless steel Jungle Yacht. This is a lovely page I got from Popular Mechanics, which has this beautiful illustration. You can see the lovely logo there for the 10th Gatti African Expedition, I think that's what it was called. And then you can see here 2 of the air-conditioned stainless steel truck trailers built for the Congo expedition. It includes lounge, library, observation, dining room, bedrooms, tile bath with full-length tub and electric kitchen. And I'd never heard of Alexis de Shekanovsky, but I think he is the man who designed the buses for the Nairn brothers. Remember, at the same time period, around the same time period, the early 1930s or earlier 1930s, they were building in America the stainless steel air-conditioned buses. So not the first generation of overland bus that I featured in my video, but the second generation, which were a slightly smaller, fully sealed with air conditioning. And I believe, according to a website that I found that had a bunch of Alexis de Shekanovsky's drawings, I found a trailer that looked remarkably similar to the second generation Nairn buses. So if you're looking at this going, this looks very familiar, it reminds me quite a lot of the Nairn buses, well, I think that's because they were probably designed by the same person, essentially. Now, before I go, and I'll keep this short, big thanks to my patrons. As always, I will make a Patreon exclusive video maybe about that lovely copy of Esquire, wherever it is, where we can have a little bit of a closer look at some of Alexis de Shekanovsky's design and maybe some of the extra materials and photographs here that I've gathered. Big thanks as well to Morgan and Duncan at Travel Film Archive / Thomson Reuters / it's a big conglomerate, but the guys who helped me track down that footage of Jungle Yachts in the Belgian Congo and license it. And Morgan, I reached out to him, he said, oh, I know you, I've watched your videos on YouTube. And they were really helpful. And this is the main reason I wanted to make that video, because that footage is beautiful. Like, there's so much incredible footage. The narration's absolutely fantastic. And being able to actually see those shots of the interior, that's what I always felt was missing with the video I made about the Nairn brothers buses. There just really isn't, there is some, but there's barely any footage of those things online. So that really, I think, helped heighten things as well too. But yeah, I think that is everything. First video of 2025. This is one that I have been wanting to do for a long time. I've had these books and materials sitting in the back of my office for a long time now, so really good fun to get them out. Thank you very much for watching, and yeah, we'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.